everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you guys what is going to be a new kind of video on my channel. I wanted to do a video all about my top 5 favorite books of July. Lately, I've been doing these quarterly favorites videos where I've been talking about my top 5 favorite books of any given 3 months. I just decided that I wanted to talk about my favorite books more often than every 3 months, and given that I read at least 30 books every month, I thought that these kind of videos would be helpful to you guys so that you can see what books I'm really loving at any given time. I also got this idea from Heather from Booktubers, so special shout out to her. Definitely check out her channel if you haven't. I will link it either up in the cards or down in the description below. She is a primarily romance booktuber like myself, and she has some amazing creative ideas for her booktube videos. So with all that being said, I'm going to be talking about my top 5 favorite books of the month. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I do want to mention that I want to focus more on the reasons why I loved all 5 of these books as opposed to the synopses or anything like that, because I have talked about these books in detail in my 2 July reading wrap-ups, and I'll link both of those videos up in the cards above if you are interested. So yeah, I'm just gonna gush about these 5 books. So the first one is The Seduction of Viscount Vice by Nicola Davidson. This is a novella. It is book 3 in her Fallen series, just to give you the gist of what's going on in this series. We have 3 best friends. They own a BDSM/sex club together during the Regency era. So this third and final novella is about Ian. He's a Scottish hero. We love that. And he's also the main performer at Fallen. He's really into exhibitionism and things like that. So this is a second chance romance with this woman, Mary, and their story is quite crazy. Basically, 10 years before this novella started, she faked her death, and so he's been mourning her this whole time, and then she shows up into his life again, and he is just completely shocked, blindsided, and rightfully so, very angry. There is definitely a lot of angst going on between these two, but there is just so much chemistry as well. What I loved so much about this novella is just how perfect these two people are for each other, because we learn throughout the novella that Mary also wants to be a performer like Ian. In fact, she's been working for one of the clubs that is Fallen's competitor. She's been trying to work her way up to become a performer. She's really into exhibitionism as well, and just has this love for performing in general as Ian does. And so when the two of them realize just how perfect they are for each other in every way, it's just so satisfying. And by the end, we get to see the two of them perform together at Fallen, and it's just such a great way to end this novella. Also, I just felt so invested in Mary and Ian that I cried several times while reading this. You'll notice that 3 of the 5 books I'm going to talk about today made me cry, and that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's usually because I'm just so invested in the story. So cannot recommend this novella enough. All 3 novellas are really great. I love The Devil's Submission, which is book 2 as well. Next up is an adult fantasy book that will probably be no surprise to you all that I'm mentioning it, but it is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This is book 2 in her Poppy War trilogy. And wow, I have not been reading a lot of fantasy lately, and I definitely don't delve too much into adult fantasy because I tend to get confused very easily. And I find that I can't let myself enjoy the story because I'm just using too much brain power trying to understand the world. But something that I really appreciate about this book is that while it is adult fantasy, this is just a great series to go with if you're trying to delve into adult fantasy, because it's pretty easy to understand what's going on. It takes place in a world that feels very much like ancient China. But there's magic involving gods, essentially. Essentially, this follows Rin, our main character. It starts out when she's like 16, I believe, and she's very poor. She lives in this small village, but she really wants to attend the military academy that is in the capital of the country that she lives in. And so she works her butt off to ace the exam, and it turns out that she may have some magical abilities, and I'm just gonna kind of leave it at that. But this series is also based off of real wars that actually happened in our world history. Book 1 is based on a couple of different wars actually. It's based off of the Opium Wars, which took place in like the later 1800s. And that first book is also based off of the Second Sino-Japanese War, I believe that one's called. I'm also gonna leave a link below to, I believe it's a blog post that someone did writing about the historical context of this series. The Dragon Republic is based off of the Chinese Civil War that happened pretty much immediately after World War II, just to kind of catch you up with everything. And so this book in particular, in my opinion, really stepped things up in so many different ways. While I did really love the Poppy War, I also gave that one 5 stars. I just think that the stakes somehow seemed so much higher. I just continue to adore following Rin because she is such a morally gray character, but at the same time you fully understand the decisions and the actions that she takes throughout both of these books. Also, this book in particular, oh my goodness, there were so many plot twists. You really couldn't get an even footing when reading this, because right when you get comfortable, something else completely insane happens that like completely upends everything that's happening in the book at that moment. Like, it's just bonkers. It's great though. I'm really looking forward to starting the third and final book, which is The Burning God, within the next couple of days actually. So I have been on a romance novella kick lately, and this novella in particular has definitely been one of my top favorites that I've read in the last couple of months, and that is Bottle Rocket by Erin McClellan. This is book 3, I believe, in her So Over the Holidays novella series. Basically, this is a series of, I think, 4 novellas, and each of them centers around a particular holiday. As you can probably tell by the title and cover of this one, it centers around the 4th of July. We have another second chance romance. Can we tell that that is one of my favorite romance tropes ever? This one is between Leo and Rosie. They dated when they were in high school, but Leo is a very free spirit and he knew that he wasn't going to be happy just staying in their small town, so he leaves after high school. They have been separated for 13 years at this point. Rosie actually ended up marrying somebody else and is now divorced, and so Leo is back in their small town for work. And so the two of them decide to have this like week-long fling. I think first of all, you could really feel the love between Leo and Rosie from the first sentence, from page 1, because the first couple of pages were a prologue when they were in high school and they were about to break up. So then when they were reunited 13 years later, I just couldn't help but root for them right away because I could already feel that connection. This is another second chance romance where you're really gonna feel the angst, you're really gonna feel the chemistry, and this is another one that made me tear up several times because this story, it really felt like a happily ever after wasn't really going to be possible. And I will say that their HEA is somewhat non-traditional. Some people may not agree with it. Some people may not want to have this kind of HEA, but it really worked for these two characters. Another thing that I just adored about this novella is that we have a straight-laced, kind of guarded, dominant heroine, and then a really free-spirited and open, submissive hero. Also, I quickly want to mention that Erin McClellan is the queen of using toys during spicy scenes, so yeah. Next up, we have Kidnapped by the Pirate by Kira Andrews. So this is a male-male historical pirate romance. I remember hearing Jen from the Book Refuge talk about this book. And wow, I'll just tell you the basic premise though. We have Hawk, who is probably in his early 40s. He is a pirate captain. He's definitely a grumpy, hardened man. Him and his pirate crew end up kidnapping Nathaniel, our other main character, who's 18. He is definitely much more of a sunshiny character. He is free-spirited as well, and so to keep tabs on him, Hawk keeps him as a prisoner in his own bedroom. So there's a lot of forced proximity going on, of course. Of course, we've got the Grump Sunshine trope, opposites attract. We've also got that age gap, given that Nathaniel's about 18 and Hawk is about 40. And what I loved so much about this novel was that I got so invested in the story that I literally forgot about all of my troubles. Like, I forgot about everything that was going on outside of my reading experience. And when a book can do that for me, that's when I know it's something special. We also have a hate to love situation, of course, given that Hawke kidnapped Nathaniel, and of course Forbidden, because this takes place in 1710. Of course, male-male relationships were not widely accepted. This ebook is on Kindle Unlimited, as is Bottle Rocket if you're interested, and I did find the audiobook for this one off of Hoopla. So yes, cannot recommend it highly enough. And last but certainly not least, my 5th favorite read of July has to be It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. Oh my goodness, when I read that Tessa Bailey was inspired to write this based off of Alexis Rose's character from Schitt's Creek, I was immediately drawn in, and I really thought that idea was just perfectly executed in this book. We have our main character, Piper. She is very much inspired by Alexis Rose, but at the same time, she reads as her own unique character. Piper is an influencer. She's a party girl in LA. She does something pretty scandalous at the beginning, and so her stepfather sends her and Piper's younger sister to this small town called Westport, which is in the Pacific Northwest. It's a fishing town, and so yeah, she ends up quickly meeting this guy Brendan, who's this grumpy fisherman, and things go on from there. What I adored so much about this book is, I think I've already made this clear, but Piper's character in particular is just absolutely fantastic because of the character development that she goes through. I really think that Tessa Bailey just nailed every aspect of her, and I loved seeing Piper really lay down some real roots in Westport. We see her reconnect with some distant family members, because the connection with this town is that her biological father, who has passed away, is from Westport, so she is reconnecting with people that knew him, and she's slowly but surely falling in love with Brendan. Like I said, he's a grumpy hero, and she's also learning to love and accept herself. And who doesn't love a story like that? I just think it was spectacularly done. In typical Tessa Dare fashion, this book is very, very, very spicy, and I, of course, was so here for it. And I also want to quickly mention that this is one of the very few traditionally published romance novels that have come out recently that I've really loved. The traditionally published romance industry has been disappointing me lately, but this is one of the few books that have come out recently that I really think is a true gem in the genre. So yes, cannot recommend this enough. Alright guys, that's going to be it for the top 5 books I read in the month of July. I hope that you guys enjoyed. I would love it if you would leave a comment down below telling me what your favorite books of July were as well. And with that being said, I would love it if you would leave a like and subscribe, and I thank you so much in advance if you do, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!